Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb. Yana Bacek is consoled by her partner Yevgeny Vlasenko and her mother Lyubov Kubareva, as she mourns over the body of her father Viktor Gubarev, 79, killed by shelling during Russia's invasion of Ukraine, in Kharkiv, Ukraine, April 18, 2022. Reuters. Alkis Konstantinides. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb. Wounded people lie at the 36th Street subway station after a shooting in Brooklyn, New York, April 12, in this picture obtained from social media. Armin Armenian via Reuters. A woman cries as she takes part in a rally demanding international leaders to organize a humanitarian corridor for evacuation of Ukrainian military and civilians from Mariupol, in central Kyiv, Ukraine, April 27. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. A man receives a bag of vegetables while standing behind barriers sealing off a residential compound under COVID lockdown in Beijing, April 28. Reuters. Carlos Garcia Rollins. French President Emmanuel Macron gestures as he arrives to deliver a speech after being re-elected as president, following the results in the second round of the 2022 French presidential election, during his victory rally at the Champs de Mars in Paris, April 24. Reuters. Benoit Tessier. Vice President Kamala Harris applauds Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson during a celebration of Judge Jackson's confirmation as the first black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, on the South Lawn of the White House in Washington, April 8. Reuters. Evelyn Hochstein. Wild bluebells turn the forest floor blue in the Hallerbos, also known as the Blue Forest, in Halle, near Brussels, Belgium, April 19. Reuters. Eve Herman. A local resident, Mykola, 70, climbs down with a stepladder from a destroyed bridge destroyed in the village of Kukhari in Kyiv region, Ukraine, April 19. Reuters. Vladislav Mushienko. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket lifts off carrying 3 NASA astronauts and 1 ESA astronaut on a 6-month expedition to the International Space Station, at Cape Canaveral, Florida, April 27. Reuters. Steve Naisuse. Demonstrators pull down metal barriers as they try to enter the main road towards the parliament during a protest against Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa near the parliament, amid the country's economic crisis in Colombo, Sri Lanka, April 8. Reuters. Dinupali Anawat. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb. A body with hands bound by white cloth, who according to residents was shot by Russian soldiers, lies in the street in Bucha, Ukraine, April 3, 2022. Reuters. Zora Ben Semra. Local boy Fatih plays in a destroyed Russian military truck in the village of Kulikivka, in Chernihiv region, Ukraine, April 27. Reuters. Vladislav Mushienko. Supporters of Marine Le Pen, French far-right National Rally, Rassemblement National Party candidate for the 2022 French presidential election, react after early results in the second round of the 2022 French presidential election, as they gather in Beaumont, France, April 24. Reuters. Johanna Garon. Megan Thee Stallion performs at the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival held at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California, April 23. Reuters. Maria Alejandra Cardona. Alvia Garcia kisses her 2-year-old son Joshua while they wait with hundreds of other residents to pick up free groceries from the food pantry run by La Colaborativa in Chelsea, Massachusetts, April 20. Reuters. Brian Snyder. A woman reacts as she says goodbye to her serviceman husband before he leaves for the front line, amid Russia's invasion, in Uzhhorod, Ukraine, April 26. Reuters. Serhiy Hudak. Jon Batiste poses with their Grammys for Best American Roots Performance for Cry, Album of the Year for We Are, Best American Roots Song, Best Music Video and Best Score Soundtrack for Visual Media for Soul, at the 64th Annual Grammy Awards at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, April 3. Reuters. Steve Marcus. A woman flees from the polluting foam generated by a river full of waste at the entrance of her house in Mosquera, Colombia. April 27. Reuters. Luisa Gonzalez. An aerial view of Lake Powell is seen, where water levels have declined dramatically to lows not seen since it was filled in the 1960s as growing demand for water and climate change shrink the Colorado River, in Page, Arizona. April 20. Reuters. Caitlin Oakes. A girl selling water uses an umbrella to protect herself from the sun as she waits for customers on a hot summer day, in New Delhi, India, April 27. Reuters. Anushree Fadnabis. Hwasong 17 intercontinental ballistic missiles take part in a nighttime military parade to mark the 90th anniversary of the founding of the Korean People's Revolutionary Army in Pyongyang, North Korea, April 26. KCNA via Reuters. People pose for a picture in front of the debris of destroyed Russian military machinery in the village of Rusanov, Kiev region, Ukraine, April 25. Reuters. Vladislav Mushienko. A woman dressed in traditional clothes reacts as men throw water at her during a traditional Easter celebration in Halko, Hungary, April 18. Reuters. Bernadette Szabo. Palestinians protest at the compound that houses Al-Aqsa Mosque, known to Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary and to Jews as the Temple Mount, in Jerusalem's Old City, April 22. Reuters. Mr. Awad. A detail of carnival float of Salgueiro Samba School is pictured during the first night of the carnival parade at the Sambaldrome in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, April 23. Reuters. Amanda Parobelli. Military chaplains Maxim and Alexandra conduct an Orthodox Easter service for Ukrainian servicemen at their position in Kharkiv region, Ukraine, April 24. Reuters. Serhiy Nuznenko. People take pictures as tanks drive along a road past a Z sign on a building, as they are relocated for a Victory Day parade preparation, to mark the 77th anniversary of the victory over Nazi Germany in World War II, in Moscow, Russia, April 21. Reuters. Maxim Shimatov. A woman says goodbye to her relative aboard a train traveling to Przemysl, Poland, amid Russia's invasion of Ukraine, in Odessa, Ukraine, April 25. Reuters. Igor Kichenko. Dorcas Lyoya mourns over the body of her eldest son Patrick Lyoya, an unarmed black man who was shot and killed by a Grand Rapids police officer during a traffic stop on April 4, at Renaissance Church of God in Christ in Grand Rapids, Michigan, April 22. Reuters. Michael A. McCoy. Children depict a Soviet-era monument to friendship between Ukraine and Russia, after its demolition in central Kiev, Ukraine, April 26. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. Afghan women wait to receive a food package being distributed by a Saudi Arabian humanitarian aid group at a distribution center in Kabul, Afghanistan, April 25. Reuters. Ali Kara. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb medical workers. Rescue an injured man following Russian shelling in Kharkiv, Ukraine, April 27. Reuters. Ricardo Moras. A detainee sits in a bus while being transferred to a jail from a police detention center after El Salvador's government invoked emergency powers to curb gang violence. in San Salvador, El Salvador, April 26. Reuters. Jessica Hampanero. Harpist Lucinda Taylor performs during the rehearsal of Sun et Lumiere as part of Ripon Cathedral's 1350th anniversary celebrations in Ripon, Britain, April 27. Reuters. Lead Smith. An Orthodox priest Alexander conducts the Orthodox Easter service next to the Nativity of the Holy Virgin Church, damaged by shelling, in the village of Peremogha, in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 24. Reuters. Vladislav Muzhienko. Amanda Soares, 21, hugs her mother Celia Farrow, 62, after evacuating their house following a fire that broke out at a household items warehouse in Guarulhos, on the outskirts of São Paulo, Brazil, April 27. Reuters. Amanda Parobelli. Dr. Shelley Teen, 40, performs an abortion while a nurse assists with ultrasound during the procedure at Planned Parenthood in Birmingham, Alabama. Picture taken March 14, 2022. Reuters. Evelyn Hochstein. Sensitive material. This image may offend or disturb Sergei Lohovsky, 26, mourns by the body of his friend Ihor Litvinenko, who according to residents was killed by Russian soldiers, after they found him beside a building's basement in Bucha, Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Zora Ben-Semra. Russian President Vladimir Putin walks past a guard during a ceremony honoring the country's Olympians and Paralympians at the Kremlin in Moscow, Russia, April 26. Reuters. Maxim Shemetov. A worshipper guides her child after lighting a candle during Easter Vigil prayers at the St. John's, Legio Maria of African Church Mission within Fort Jesus in Kibera district of Nairobi, Kenya, April 17. Reuters. Thomas Mukoya. A person in a protective suit squeezes through a locked gate of a residential compound amid a COVID lockdown in Shanghai, China, April 21. Reuters. Andrew Galbraith. Elvis Presley impersonator Ross Mancini chats with fellow enthusiasts while boarding a train at Sydney Central Railway Station before departing for the park's Elvis Festival, as the event returns following the coronavirus pandemic, in Sydney, Australia, April 21. Reuters. Lauren Elliott. A search and rescue team member looks for bodies with the help of a dog, following torrential rains that triggered floods and mudslides, in Umbumbulu, near Durban, South Africa, April 18. Reuters. Rogan Ward. Revelers from Academicos Tutu Ukuruvi Samba School performed during the first night of the Carnival Parade at the Inambi Sambadrome in São Paulo, Brazil, April 222. Reuters. Carla Carniel. Actor Johnny Depp testifies at the Fairfax County Circuit Courthouse as his defamation case against ex-wife Amber Heard continues, in Fairfax, Virginia, April 19. Jim Watson Poole. An Israeli security forces member moves in position during clashes with Palestinian protesters at the compound that houses Al-Aqsa Mosque, known to Muslims as Noble Sanctuary and to Jews as the Temple Mount, in Jerusalem's Old City, April 15. Reuters. Mr. Awad. People take belongings out of a residential building, which was destroyed during the Ukraine-Russia conflict in the southern port city of Mariupol, Ukraine, April 17. Reuters. Alexander Ermoshenko. A view of at least 3 rows of new graves for people killed during Russia's invasion of Ukraine, at a cemetery in Irpin, Kiev region, Ukraine, April 18. Reuters. Zora Ben-Semra. A dog stands in front of an operating room while a medical team performs surgery on a Ukrainian soldier at a hospital in Kramatorsk, Donetsk region, Ukraine, April 19. Reuters Marco Eurica. A shop owner picks an item for a customer by candlelight during power outages by South African utility Eskom due to more breakdowns at its aging coal-fired plants, in Soweto, South Africa, April 20. Reuters Sifiwe Sibuko. People gather amidst damaged buildings for iftar, breaking fast, during the holy month of Ramadan in the town of Tadef, on a front line between Russian-backed Syrian government forces and Turkish-backed Syrian rebel-held territory, in northern Syria, April 18. Reuters Khalil Ishawi. A woman walks past official campaign posters of French presidential election candidates Marine Le Pen, leader of French far-right National Rally, Rassemblement National Party, and French President Emmanuel Macron, candidate for his re-election, displayed on an official billboard in Paris, April 19. Reuters Gonzalo Fuentes. Kenya's Paris Chepchirchir celebrates winning the elite women's race at the Boston Marathon, April 18. Reuters Brian Snyder. A believer takes part in the reenactment of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ during the Holy Week celebration in Santiago, Chile, April 15. Reuters Ivan Alvarado. A woman reacts as she hugs another woman outside a heavily damaged apartment block in Kharkiv, Ukraine, April 13. Reuters Alkis Konstantinides. Tiger Woods reacts after his tee shot on the fourth during the first round of the Masters at the Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia, April 7. Reuters Brian Snyder. Marine Le Pen, leader of French far-right National Rally, Rassemblement National Party and presidential candidate, exits a polling booth to cast her ballot in the first round of the 2022 French presidential election at a polling station in Henenbeaumont, France, April 10. Reuters Pascal Rossignol. An armored vehicle of pro-Russian troops is seen in the street in the southern port city of Mariupol, Ukraine, April 11. Reuters Chingiz Khandarov. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson walk along a street after a meeting in Kyiv, Ukraine, April 9. Ukrainian Presidential Press Service handout. A cleanup worker walks past buildings that were destroyed by shelling in Borodyanka, in the Kyiv region, Ukraine, April 7. Reuters Marco Eurica. Penitents belonging to the Los Gitanos Brotherhood wait inside a church to take part in a Palm Sunday procession, after processions were cancelled for the last 2 years due to the coronavirus pandemic, in Ronda, Spain, April 10. Reuters John Nazca. Ukrainians, who fled to Mexico amid the Russian invasion of their homeland, enjoy the performance of a mariachi band at the Benito Juarez sports complex, set up as a shelter by the local government, after arriving in Tijuana to enter the U.S., in Tijuana, Mexico, April 7. Reuters Getsali Nikhao. A Muslim woman plays with a child next to the Dome of the Rock, on the compound known to Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary and to Jews as the Temple Mount, during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, in Jerusalem's Old City, April 8. Reuters Mr Awad. A woman stands at her front door after heavy rains caused flood damage in Gwandangezi, Durban, South Africa, April 12. Reuters Rogan Ward. Hindu devotees dance after applying paints on their bodies as they celebrate the Lal Kach festival in Munchganj, Bangladesh, April 13. Reuters Mohammad Poner Hossain. A supporter of the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, PMLN, holds a stuffed tiger as he celebrates after Shehbaz Sharif was sworn in as the country's prime minister, in Rawalpindi, Pakistan, April 11. Reuters Akhtar Sumero. A couple hugs while walking past a building that was heavily damaged by shelling in Kharkiv, Ukraine, April 10. Reuters. Alkis Konstantinides. Ipotente, written by Aidan Coleman, in action on their way to winning the 15:30 Betway entry hurdle is Xanaviar, written by Jack Kennedy, falls at the Grand National Festival at the Entry Racecourse in Liverpool, Britain, April 7, 2022. Reuters. Jason Carenduff. A tourist walks through an accumulation of sargassum algae at Gaviota Beach in Cancun, Mexico, April 3, 2022. Reuters. Paolo Chiamonte. A young man eats inside a subway car, as residents find shelter from shelling in a metro station in Kharkiv, Ukraine, April 11. Reuters. Alkis Konstantinides. A woman carries her cat as she walks past buildings that were destroyed by Russian shelling in the Kiev region of Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Zora Ben Semra. A Chilean Air Force's aerobatics team member performs ahead of the International Air and Space Fair, FIDAE, at Santiago International Airport in Chile, April 4, 2022. Reuters. Ivan Alvarado. A Ukrainian service member walks in the front of the Antonov An-225 Mriya cargo plane, the world's biggest aircraft, destroyed by Russian troops as Russia's attack on Ukraine continues, at an airfield in the settlement of Hostomel, in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 3. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. The setting sun illuminates an indigenous man as he looks on during the protest against Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro and for land demarcation in Brasília, Brazil, April 6, 2022. Reuters. Adriano Machado. U.S. President Joe Biden fist bumps former U.S. President Barack Obama after signing an executive order continuing to strengthen Americans' access to affordable, quality health coverage. After Biden, Obama and Vice President Kamala Harris all spoke about the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid at the White House in Washington, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Leah Mills. An asylum-seeking migrant hands a child over the railing as they walk out of the Rio Bravo River after crossing it, in El Paso, Texas, U.S., as seen from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, April 6, 2022. Reuters. Jose Luis Gonzalez. Jack Harlow gets slimed on the stage during the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards in Santa Monica, California, April 9. Reuters. Mario Angiolini. Wine growers gather as heaters are lit early in the morning to protect vineyards from frost damage outside Chablis, France, April 3, 2022. Reuters. Stefan Mehi. People take part in a flash mob to commemorate victims, after Ukraine accused the Russian military of massacring residents of the town of Bucha in the Kiev region in the course of Russian invasion in Ukraine, near the Parliament building in Tbilisi, Georgia, April 6. Reuters. Irakli Gadanidze. People listen to music while sitting on the back of a car during a protest against Peru's President Pedro Castillo, after he had issued a curfew mandate which was lifted following widespread defiance on the streets, as protests spiraled against rising fuel and fertilizer prices triggered by the Ukraine conflict, in Lima, Peru, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Alessandro Sink. Ukrainian servicemen pose for a picture near a destroyed bridge in the town of Irpin outside Kyiv, April 1, 2022. Reuters. Gleb Garanich. A firefighter uses his mobile phone as he sits on top of a fire truck as smoke billows from burning garbage at the Balswa landfill site, during a heat wave, in New Delhi, India, April 27. Reuters. Adnan Abidi. Amazon Labor Union (ALU) organizer Christian Smalls and ALU members celebrate their official victory after hearing results regarding their vote to unionize, outside the NLRB offices in Brooklyn, New York City, April 1, 2022. Some 55% of workers at a Staten Island warehouse voted to form the first U.S. union at Amazon. Reuters. Brendan McDermott. Oleksiy Shcherbo, 98, walks past his burnt-out house and destroyed Russian tank in the village of Sloboda, outside Chernihiv, Ukraine, April 5, 2022. Reuters. Marco Urica. A man digs a pit to obtain water in a dry riverbed near the village of Tatabathali in Matam, Senegal. Picture taken March 30, 2022. Reuters. Edward McAllister. Serhiy Lohovsky, 26, mourns next to the grave of his friend Ihor Litvinenko, who according to residents was killed by Russian soldiers, after they found him beside a building's basement in Kiev region, Ukraine, April 6, 2022. Reuters. Alkis Konstantinides. Pope Francis holds the Ukrainian flag that was sent to him from the town of Bucha, where tied bodies were shot at close range and a mass grave and other signs of executions were found, during the weekly general audience at the Paul VI Hall at the Vatican, April 6, 2022. Reuters. Remo Casilli. Local resident Victoria Mukina, 33, plants tulips with her daughter Miroslava near a damaged apartment building in the southern port city of Mariupol, Ukraine, April 4, 2022. Reuters. Alexander Ermoshenko. A person walks next to a mural of Russian President Vladimir Putin, which has been vandalized with red spray paint and the word "war" written instead of the original text reading, "Brother," in Belgrade, Serbia, April 29. Reuters. Marco Urica. A Muslim woman with a child leaves after offering prayers during Jumat ul-Vida, or the last Friday of the holy fasting month of Ramadan, at Jama Masjid in the old quarters of Delhi, India, April 29. Reuters. Anushree Fadnabis.